In 2019, times were pretty damn good in e-commerce. Shipping stuff from China to the US or Europe was simple and it was cheap. Then in 2020, well, we all know what happened then.
Coronavirus.
This caused a huge surge in e-commerce sales, so businesses were scrambling around trying to bring in as much inventory as possible to keep up with all the demand. Now, the freight forwarders obviously caught wind of this, and as demand was so high, prices started to creep up, and up, and up. Add to that a couple of huge delays like the Suez Canal, remember that one?
Now it's one of the world's most important shipping routes and it's blocked.
And you had yourself a perfect storm. It was $1,500 for a standard 40-foot container in 2019. By summer 2021, people were paying over $20,000 a container. Now, I don't do public math, but that's more than a 13x increase. So let me just try and put that into perspective for you. In 2019, let's say Jeff here could import his sofas for $50 each. By September 2021, those same sofas cost Jeff $700 per unit to bring in. So Jeff either had to massively increase his prices, massively reduce his margins, or, and honestly what happened to a lot of people, just stop selling his sofas altogether. So how did this affect the regular Amazon seller like us? The crazy high prices made a lot of products really hard to offer. Product research became way more cramped as everyone was looking at the same stuff. Mainly small and light products that they can actually afford to ship. This caused more price wars in niches, it squeezed a load of margins, and it made selling on Amazon just more difficult in general. So, what's the good news? Over this year, containers hovered around $15,000 for quite a while, but prices have been slowly tumbling since around May. And as of this week, prices have actually come down to below where they were pre-COVID. We're now seeing full containers for just $1,400. So a regular 40-foot container has about 66 cubic meters of space, which is probably a little bit more than you think. 66 cubic meters can hold about 170 washing machines or 10,000 bottles of beer. Now, most of you won't ship full containers for a little while, especially when you're first starting out. But these price changes still affect you as you're buying the space within them. The more the full container rates drop, the more the rate per cubic meter drops, which is what your smaller LTL shipments get charged in. Put way more simply, it's now cheaper to ship products into Amazon than it has been in years. So this is awesome news for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it opens up a load more larger products. So as a general rule of thumb, bigger products tend to have higher prices. And higher prices can mean higher margins. So it opens up way more possibilities to make a load more money. Remember Jeff from earlier? His sofas are now less than $50 a unit to import again, which is a $650 decrease from the peak. Secondly, lower shipping costs make it way easier for people with smaller budgets to get into Amazon. Obviously, you still want to ensure that you're running the numbers and you only ever enter niches that you can afford to compete in, but you'll now find you can afford a load more products that you couldn't afford recently. The last couple of years, they were completely off the table, and now you can afford to bring them into the US or Europe and start selling. And thirdly, it's great news for anyone who's currently selling on Amazon. All of our landed product costs would have reduced, so we can maintain the current prices. That'll mean increased margins and more money in our businesses. It's worth pointing out that the container prices were completely steady for years up until 2020. So fingers crossed they've returned to that way now. Now, obviously, as I said, be really careful not to overexpose yourself. Always make sure you have super healthy margins to allow for any more wild price changes. You should never know what's going to be around the corner. But for now, it's good news. We can make the most of it. Now check out this video on how to find your first Amazon product.